Hi guys, welcome back to OC Avery. I'm Oliver and today this is episode 16 of Breeding British Birds. Now this is the final round for the natives and the Canaries. The Canaries are just finishing off. We haven't got any more Canaries due and no more Canaries will be bred this year. The natives, however, are just beginning to finish their, or just starting their third round. Some finishing, some starting. So we've got a few Redpolls that have been come out today, so you're going to see them in today's video. We've got some Bullfinches that are due any day. We've got some Greenfinches which are out, some more Greenfinches due, and they are the last final rounds of 2021 breeding season. So we're going to have a look at all those birds in today's video. I always like to start these videos with a catch up with the Canaries. So let's go and have a look at how the young Canaries are doing, which we saw in last week's video. So last week we saw that the Norwich Cross Fife Canary chicks were just about to bob the nest. Well, this week they have. So as you can see, we have one youngster here sat next to their mother, and obviously a nicely variegated bird. Now, something that I immediately notice is the half siblings of these birds. When we had just a Fife cock to the Fife hen, as you can see, you know, this chick is much bigger, which is great because it proves to me that Norwich cock has definitely filled those eggs. And I'm very pleased to report that. So that's really good. And as you can see, its sibling, the slightly younger one, prefers to stay in the nest than on the perches. It has left the nest, it has jumped the nest, but it seems to prefer to be sat in there, sort of in its bed, being fed by its parents. So that's those guys this week. They're doing great. So by next week, I imagine they'll be eating quite well. So we'll have to see how they get on for next week in episode 17, and yeah, it'd be nice to see how they're doing and actually what these guys turn out like as adults. So the Redpolls this week have been interesting. We've got mainly good news, however we do have a bit of a loss. So we'll have a quick look at how the Redpolls are doing and where they're at in their final rounds. So to begin, we have the pair of cinnamons, which we usually visit quite early on in the Redpoll update. So she is on 4 eggs. All 4 are due in 2 days' time. So we're going to see how they get on. Hopefully they hatch, and I'm really hoping, for this being the last round and this being the hen who's never fed the youngsters, that she may feed them this time. So fingers crossed for that, and that would be nice to see. So let's take a look at some others. So we have the normal split agate, split cinnamon, split pastel, split Isabel cockbird, and he is in with the agate pastel hen. This hen has, well, she had a chick hatch this morning who sadly passed away early on, and I'm not too sure why. But as you can see, the 5 eggs are left, and I believe the rest of them are going to be due out tomorrow. So that's one of the pairs of Redpolls. They had the first youngster hatch, and the other eggs are full. So it'd be nice to see how they get on. We've got then the normal rare feathered cockbird with a bit of pied on the front, as you can see. He is with a cobalt hen, and they have welcomed youngsters of their second round, as you can see. The hen, we've got actually quite a lightly pink skinned bird here and a darker bird there. I would suggest these are both normals, possibly a yellow and a buff. As you can see as well, that they are upside down, and she did come off the nest quite fast, but this hen generally, whenever I've previously bred her, has kind of kept the youngsters a bit higher up the nest rather than in the eggs. So that's those two, both doing well, both being fed. So be nice to see how they get on and actually what mutations they are, but it's a lovely parent set. Now this is an interesting pair. We have the normal cockbird with the white flight and white tail feathers. He is paired to a cinnamon hen. The cinnamon hen has had several rounds this year, all which have been clear because she was in with the agate pastel, which we believe was a cockbird right up until about 3 weeks ago. But anyway, this hen has been sat recently. She's been sat now the full course, 11 days, and we have got youngsters. You can see the heads just popping up there. there are 3 youngsters in that nest, 2 more eggs to hatch. Now you'll notice the bird at the back is a pink-skinned bird, and that does excite me because this pair should theoretically only produce normals. There's a pink-skinned bird in there, and something makes me believe that may be a white. And if that's so, then that rare feathered bird is producing white. So it'll be nice to see what happens with those guys, how they get on. We'll see in the coming weeks what they actually turn out to be. But a lovely set of parents. Now, we do have to jump to the sadness. We've got the normal split brown pastel redpoll cock there. He was in with a cobalt redpoll hen who was nesting there. That hen had 9 eggs, all 9 were full. And sadly, due to the heat wave, I believe, my best efforts to cool the shed, I believe that hen was quite dedicated to not getting off that nest. And sadly, I believe she sort of dehydrated to a point. Even though she had water, there was a bath on the cage, and it was humid in here. The hen sadly passed, and I was really gutted to have that happen. But what we do have are 7 youngsters off this pair, all of which are looking brilliant, especially some of the mutations and a particular normal bird, which we'll visit in a later episode. So that's that pair, and it's a shame that we lost that hen, but it does happen. So it's been a relatively quiet week this week for the Greenfinches. Not much has really happened. We've got a pied hen in cage 7 who, a normal hen paired to a pied cock. They have got 4 eggs, all of which are full, I believe. So fingers crossed, all going well. They are due out later next week, so we might have some nice youngsters from them. We've got 1 youngster from that pair, however, which are down in a pair of feeder canaries. It's a pair which previously reared me some greenies, then didn't bother for two sets of youngsters to actually feed. Well, finally they have gone and they have fed the youngsters. So what we've got in there is 1 pied from the pair, which is the A-gate, the normal pied split A-gate, and we do have the normal hen. So that does look like a pied bird, quite a promising one as well. I am seeing quite a bit of light on it, so if we have a clear pied, that would be amazing, but obviously I'm dreaming. Then we do have the pair of normals outside. They are on, I believe, 5 eggs, 4 of their own, which are all full, and 1 goldfinch mule egg. So all 5 of those eggs are full. They are due next week as well, so fingers crossed, all going well. You'll see those guys in next week's video, and we'll see how they get on. Now it gets quite exciting with the bullfinches. They have 3 eggs, 2 which are full, 1 which stopped developing quite early on. This is probably the last round for that pair of bullfinches. With them being a 5-year-old pair now, I can't see them going back down next year. So we'll have to really just sort of, you know, just take a look at them and assess them and what's going to be happening for them next year. And we'll go from there. But that's the pair which has the cockbird, which is normal split pastel, and with 2 eggs which are full. I am really hoping that we might get a pastel or 2 in that nest. We haven't, well, we've previously bred pastels from them, but we've never got any to the sticks. So let's just hope that last round will be worth it and that pair is going to feed those youngsters, and let's hope that one of them is a pastel. And it'd be great if it is, so we'll see that shortly. They are due literally any day, so we'll see what happens. So I was considering, do I do an update on the goldfinches, the siskins and the crossbills, and to be honest, the reason I'm not is because they have now retired from breeding for this year. Obviously the crossbills, we knew that a few months ago. The siskins, we did have a nest from each of them, and sadly just failed one nest first hatching, and the other nest was later on. Sadly, the hen come off the nest for whatever reason. So we don't really have an update for those guys, and neither the goldfinches. So they are, you know, retired for the rest of the season. Will they be staying on next year? Well, that's a question we're going to answer later in a future video. What birds are going to be staying, what birds I'm going to be specialising in, and actually plans for next year. But with that being said, it is now time that we look at the mules and hybrids. We've got some really good news with the Goldfinch mule chicks, which we saw last week, so let's go and have a look. What is one of the most commonly bred mules in the world is the Goldfinch mule, and we have one youngster in here. You may recall we had two last week. Sadly, one of them wasn't being fed as well. But what we do have is this lovely youngster, and this was actually the darker bird of the two. Not saying the other one was light, but rather I believe a yellow and a buff, and we've got the yellow. This is a lovely little bird. It's a week old and is being fostered by a Redpoll, as you can see, who was a reliable feeder. So, at a week old, and the size of that chick, it's now time that we ring our first ever Goldfinch mule. So for even some of the most experienced fanciers, ringing a young bird is definitely no easy task. It's very ferrety. You have to be very gentle, and you've got to make sure that you're placing everything correctly. So we've got a Goldfinch mule here, and we've got our rings. Now these are E rings. With the mother, she's a Norwich, obviously being a J. We have the Goldfinch cock being a C. I felt that an E would probably be the best suit. Generally, with most, you would pick the ring of the largest parent, and I just felt that looking at this youngster, looking at the Goldfinch cock, this is probably the best option. So we've got our little mule here, as you can see. So we're going to be ringing him now. So this is obviously a dark bird, as you can see. We've got, it's not going to be a clear bird. So we've got our ring. We're going to take the three front toes. So we're going to get the longest toe in first. So as you can tell, this is not an easy task. We've got to get, so that's two. Let's get the third in. Okay, that's all three. Now I just grab the toe, make sure all three are through, and just slowly feed that over. And that is a perfect fit. We've just got it over the ankle of the youngster. Pull it a little bit further up, back toe through, and just like that, we've got a Goldfinch mule rung, and that is my first ever Goldfinch mule. So get that youngster back in the nest. As you can see, looks a nice little bird. I'm definitely very pleased with it. You can see we do have a few of the little stripes down the flights coming on that bird now. So what a great thing to do. I'm so pleased that we finally got one out. Doesn't mean don't count your chickens yet, but that's our first Goldie mule. So a bit of a shorter episode today, guys, and the reason being is I just wanted to try and keep it short, simple, and give you guys exactly what you want, rather than having a look at some of the other birds which aren't really doing anything. We've retired most of, quite a few of the pairs now: the Goldies, the Siskins, the Crossbills. Most of the other hybrid and mule pairs are retired as well for this season, and we're going to look at a future episode of actually what birds we're going to be doing next year in terms of focus, mules and hybrids, and then what birds are going to be moving on. So we're going to focus, we're going to talk about that in a later episode. And so forth, and I've got a few ideas. So if you do have any ideas for mules and hybrids you'd like to see me try, leave them in the comments below, and I'd love to see what you guys would think. It'd be nice to get some suggestions and give me an idea, because it might be something that I've not seen before, or possibly something that is rarely tried. So leave a comment below. What mules and hybrids would you like me to do next year? Just remember that it doesn't have to be a bird that I've got now. You don't have to say do a Redpoll cross Greenfinch, for example, because I've got them. If you want me to get a Chaffee in, if you want me to get a Bramble in or a Hawfinch, just say and we'll give it a go. So that brings us to the end of this week's episode. So I hope you've enjoyed it, found some useful tips. We'll be back next week with another exciting episode of Breeding British Birds, and we'll be also back on Monday evening with the Natives of Norwich Zoom Room. We're joined by Eddie Darcy, and we're looking at the Irish Fancy Canary and the history of that bird. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.